Alright. Welcome to the first of my ESO's how-to gaming guides. This is Smush of Degen Gaming. Today I'm going to show you how to blacksmith. So, I'm here in the Daggerfall Covenant, giving you a quick heads up of where I am in the starting zone here of Glenumbra. Come on in, down in the Daggerfall City province here. And the blacksmithing shrine you want is right in this area right here. It has both blacksmithing and clothing places for you to do your crafting. So obviously, there's lots of crafting skills. Each one is a little bit different. You've got alchemy, blacksmithing, clothing, enchanting, provisioning, and woodworking. Each one obviously requires some different mats. Each one works just a little bit differently in terms of the things you can do with it. Being a DK, I'm kind of focusing in on blacksmithing right now. I found that to be pretty useful. As you'll see, I've got a few skill points in there. So I put another point in metalworking. Lets me kind of use steel ingots as opposed to just the iron ingots that you're able to use when you're first farming materials. The miner hireling, so every now and then this guy sends me some materials. Metal extraction, which lets me extract additional ingredients, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And metallurgy, which lets me do more research every day. So we'll get right to it. To do some blacksmithing, you just come over here into one of these blacksmithing stations, you press E, and you bring up your screen. Now you'll see in the top right corner here, you got 5 different things we can do. We can refine materials, we can create new stuff, we can deconstruct things we already have, we can improve our gear, and we can also do research, which is very cool. So we'll get into all these in just a bit. We'll go ahead and we'll start with refining. Maybe one of the easier abilities to kind of get a hold of. Refining lets you take materials that are not readily usable and essentially refine them down into materials you can use. So right here we have a list of everything I could potentially refine. Some high iron ore, and ore column ore. Now to refine you have to have, you see here, a minimum of 10 needed. The only one that I have 10 of is the high iron ore, so that's the only one I can refine right now. The other ones are redded out. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to double click on this here, and you see my selections here. I can either press X to clear selections or R to refine. So if I press X, it'll just pop it back out, but we want to refine it. So we'll get it back in, and we press R. And just like that, I got 9 steel ingots. Very simple, right? Easy enough. So we had 17, we're now down to 7. Can't refine it anymore, so we'll pop that out. Now, come over to creation. This is where a lot of the fun happens. So you'll see here we can create either weapons or apparel, in other words, armor. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, we're going to craft a weapon, and we're going to make a sword, let's say. So we scroll on over to sword. Now, look, we can make a level 1 sword that'll do 10 damage, has a value of 6 gold. I have 6 iron ingots. If I want to make that, it will cost 3. Now let's say I bump that up. So let's say I'm willing to spend 4 iron ingots. Now all of a sudden I'm creating a level 4 sword, which obviously is a little more damage, is worth a little more. And so on, I can bump this up. I have 6 iron ingots. Let's say I'm willing to spend all 6 to make a level 8 sword. Now let's say that's not good enough. Let's say instead of using iron, we want to craft with steel. Come on over here to steel. Now all of a sudden we're looking at level 16 items, right? And of course we can spend even more steel to make higher and higher level items. Now you come down here, this is your styles. So being an orc, I know how to craft in the orc style. I also picked up a lore book along the way that showed me how to craft in the Argonian style. Now I don't have any flint on me, but if I did have some flint, instead of making a sword, an orc looking sword, I can make an Argonian looking sword, but let's be real, Argonians suck, and I'm an orc, so we would make an orc weapon. Now if I have researched any sword traits and I had the required stone, I could pop that stone in here and give my sword a trait. Now we'll get into traits and researching that in a bit, but for now let's keep it simple. I don't actually need a new sword, but let's say I did. Let's say I were level 8. Forget it, I'm going to be cheap here. Let's say I were a noob, I were level 1, I just want to make a regular old level 1 sword. I'm going to craft in the orc style. I got everything all lined up. I got the mats I want. I got the style I want. No traits. I'm just going to press R. And we're going to craft this. And boom, just like that, we got ourselves a new iron sword. Now, deconstruct. Let's say you find a bunch of stuff. You find some gear. You're out there farming. You find some iron gear that you can't use. You got no use for it, and you want to break it down. In this case, you'll see all these things that I've acquired that I'm holding on to for research, which again we'll talk more about in a bit. But I can break down either apparel or weapons. Now let's go into weapons, and conveniently, let's break down the iron sword I just made. But technically I could really break down any gear or any weapons or armor that I've come across, but I want to hold on to all these things. So let's just break down this iron sword. It's very simple. We double click on it. It's in here. Deconstruct weapon. Press R. Boom. Deconstruct. Now you're saying we deconstruct. In this case, I got some manganese and 1 iron ingot. Whenever you deconstruct, you're not going to get your full value back. So if you remember, when we created here, it cost 3 iron ingots and 1 manganese. And I deconstructed it, I only got 1 iron ingot and my 1 manganese back. So it's kind of random how much you get. I'm sure there's probably some algorithm or some formula to it, but at this point in time, to me, it seems to be rather arbitrary. Now you come up here, this is my blacksmithing, so I'm level 8. This is how much experience I got. If you've been noticing, as I've been crafting, creating, and deconstructing, my blacksmithing skill has slowly gone up. Next, we'll come over to improvement. Now, improving things is pretty cool. Again, we can improve our weapons or our apparel. What you do is you find the item that you want to improve. Let's say, for whatever reason, I want to improve my iron battle axe, right? So we put that in. Now, you come down here to this tempers chart. You'll see I have 3 honing stones. Now, because this is a white item, it's classified, as white. These are greens, and this is a blue, obviously. With this stone, I can increase the quality of this to make it just a regular old normal item and make it a green item. Now, right here it says chance 20%. If I were just trying to improve this, I would have a 20% chance of increasing my iron battle axe into a green. But I have 3 of these honing stones. So as I put more and more of them in, the chance goes up, obviously, right? Now, if I fail, when I try to improve, if I fail, I lose the item altogether. So my honing stones are gone, my battle axe would be gone, I'd have nothing. But if successful, then all of a sudden I have a cooler weapon. Now, with these greens, you'll see, if I highlight a green, it doesn't take honing stones, it takes something else. So let's pop this out. Let's pop in a green here. And if you look, to improve this, I need Dwarven Oil. And I don't have any Dwarven Oil, so I have no chance right now of improving my burnished knife. So that's not going to happen. And same case for the blues. The blue, to increase that, I need some grain solvent. And again, I don't have any of that, so that's not going to happen. So I'm not going to actually go ahead and improve any of my stuff because I don't want to. But hopefully you have a pretty clear understanding of how that works. It's relatively straightforward. Now the last thing that I like, this is what I spend a lot of time on, researching. Researching lets you learn new traits for your weapons and for your armor. So let's come over here. Let's come over, we're in the armor section here. We come over to Pauldron. Now you'll see I've already learned the trait impenetrable. But what I can learn is reinforce. It says researchable. Now why can I why can I research this and not some of the others? Well, that's because in my inventory, somewhere I have some shoulders that have the reinforced trait. So let's check that out. Just double check here. Come over to my apparel. We'll come down, we'll find some shoulders. Steel pauldron. No, it's not you. I must have it somewhere. It's not you. Oh, I'm gonna make myself look like, oh, here we are, of course, steel pauldron of stamina. So I have this in my inventory. You see that? Some pretty nice armor there. And it has the trait reinforce, increases this item's armor value by 6%. So let's say I like these shoulders, but I like that trait even more, and say I want to take that trait and apply it to future shoulders that I want to make in the future. So I say, okay, those shoulders are all well and good, but sorry, I'm gonna have to sacrifice them because I want to learn that trait. What I would do is double click on this here, and it shows, okay, select an item from which to research the trait, Steel Pauldron of Stamina. I'm going to click on that. It says researching this item will destroy it. This process will take 11 hours, 24 minutes. Alright, so I'm willing to sacrifice it, hit research straight, and the countdown begins. Those pauldrons are now going from my inventory, and they are being sacrificed so that I can learn them. Now, why does it take so long, you ask? Well, the first time you do research from any particular set of gear, it takes 6 hours. The second trait you research from a set of gear takes 12 hours. And that doubles and doubles and doubles each time until the last trait you research for any particular piece of gear will take 32 days. Now in my case, instead of a full 12 hours is 11 hours and some odd minutes because I have research ability, which decreases the research time by like 5%. But you kind of get the picture. Normally you can only research one thing at a time, but again, because I have an extra point in blacksmithing, I can research 2. So, let's say we want to do the same thing with the weapon. You have your different options here. But I'm not going to do that. We're going to stay in the apparel section. And let's say, here, just for argument's sake, let's say I want to learn a trait for my sabatons. And let's say I think the training skill is pretty cool. Double click on that. Okay, I have some iron sabatons in my inventory that have the training ability. So I can sacrifice them and research the trait. Just like that. So now I've got 2 things being researched. They're gone from my inventory, but if I log back on in approximately 12 hours, I will now know those 2 traits. So in the future, when I come here and I want to craft something, and let's say I want to craft some new sabatons, down here there will be a trait available where it will say, you know, training or whatever the trait I learned. If I have the proper stone, I'll be able to add that stone in and create some sabatons that have that trait. So that's about it. In this video, I showed you how to refine materials into more usable materials, how to create new stuff, how to deconstruct things you already have, showed you how to improve some of your gear, and I showed you how to research new traits as well. Hope this has been useful. Like the video, subscribe it, love it, do all that good stuff, and check us out in the future. We'll have more training videos for you. Alright, take care guys. Happy gaming.